Jaxon Smith-Njigba just had a fantastic game against the New England Patriots, but what interests me more than his raw stats of 12 catches for 117 yards is how he put up those numbers. So today, let's dive into some of my favorite plays from his Week 2 performance and discuss why this single game really did change how I think about JSN. When JSN was coming out of college, he was heralded as an excellent slot wide receiver. He boasted excellent route running, foot quickness, and he had a knack for finding space. If you watched my video this offseason reviewing JSN's rookie year, I mentioned that we never really saw that. JSN was pretty much never the dominant easy yards underneath receiver, but this week he really did look the part. This play came in the first quarter on 3rd and 1. This is a version of sprint right option. DK is running a simple out route, but really his job is to just ensure that JSN has the space that he needs, and so no other defenders can come in and muddy this picture. Geno Smith is going to roll out to his right with the offensive line pass protecting while moving in that direction. JSN is pretty much the only target on this play. He is immediately running to the flat. The Seahawks get a little bit lucky here because the Patriots are actually running a slot blitz, which that does give this route even more space. But what I want to highlight is what a great catch this is. Geno does not put this ball on the correct shoulder. Instead of hitting JSN in stride, he has to turn back and make a tough catch. This was a tremendous amount of trust to put in JSN, and he delivered. He needed to win on this route, and he needed to make the catch on 3rd down. In this game, the Seahawks really pivoted away from the ground game, and JSN was the reason why they were able to do that. Charbonnet only got 14 carries in this entire game, and it's because of plays like these where the Seahawks were able to use JSN as an extension of the ground game and as an alternative to just running the ball. Let's look at another play where, again, he shows the skills that you need to be a great slot receiver. Beginning from a loose bunch set, Fant and Lockett are running slants with JSN running behind them to get to the flat. Lockett does a tremendous job here. His true goal is to pick the defender without getting a flag so that JSN is free to get to the flat. Lockett gets completely blown up, but he has done his job. This should be offensive pass interference because Lockett is intentionally picking this player, but he does such a good job of making it look so natural that no ref is going to call this. Lockett gets all the credit for JSN getting so open, but after that, it is all JSN. Once he secures the catch and turns upfield, he immediately cuts back to the middle of the field to gain another 15 yards after the catch. This is what it takes to be a truly great slot wide receiver. There's plenty of guys who are quick and can get open, but the best slot receivers in the game, like Amon-Ra St. Brown or Deebo Samuel, they have the run after catch skills to turn this 4-yard completion into a chunk play. And that is exactly what JSN showed right here, which makes me really confident that he will continue to be a major piece of this offense throughout the rest of the season. JSN was supposed to be a great slot wide receiver, and I think he is well on his way to becoming that. But in the NFL, he has shown that he can actually be even more than just a slot wide receiver. Let's look at this play where the Patriots are in a cover 2 blitz. Cover 2 blitz sends a 5-man rush and has 4 underneath the defenders and 2 safeties deep. It's basically like running cover 2 except you're a man short because he's rushing. Against this coverage, JSN is running a deep dig route to attack the middle of the field. These are the 2 defenders that are going to be an issue for JSN on this route. The only window Geno is going to have is right in between them, and Njigba understands that. Instead of coming out of his break at full speed, he settles down in this window to give Geno time. Even though JSN is just a year 2 wide receiver, this is a really veteran move. After securing the catch in traffic, JSN makes 1-man miss and turns upfield for even more yardage. This isn't what you would expect from a slot wide receiver. In this game, JSN was a complete receiver with the ability to attack anywhere on the field, and to me that really raises the ceiling of what he could be. Let's look at this play where he is even less of a slot wide receiver. Here, JSN is aligned on the ball and is isolated to the bottom of our screen. He's running a comeback route, and I just love the way that he does it. On paper, a comeback route is really simple. You just run straight forward and then cut back towards the ball while angling towards the sideline. The issue is that human beings don't really move like that. No one on the planet can cut that sharply off a full sprint, so wide receivers do have to adjust when they bring this route onto the field. But let's look at how JSN runs this route. He begins by running right at the DB, compressing the space and making him feel uncomfortable. Once he has closed the distance, he turns as if he is running a post, and this forces the corner to flip his hips and prepare to turn and run. Once JSN has the defender where he wants him, he slams on the brakes and starts to turn on this route. I love how he gets his hands into the defender, not really to push off and not enough to draw a flag, but enough to help slow him down and come out of this even sharper. Then he makes an excellent diving catch while walling off the defender. This is not a route that I thought JSN would ever be able to run. These are the types of routes that are reserved for your true X wide receivers like DK Metcalf, who can threaten the corner with their speed and have the size to make the contested catch. But JSN does everything that you could want, just in his own way. As for areas where JSN could improve, he had some pretty painful drops down the field. Let's look at this play. Here the Seahawks have Lockett running up the seam and JSN on the slot fade. Beginning with a slow release, Njigba shows off great speed and acceleration as he runs towards the sideline. This is good coverage, but I would have to argue that this is a better ball by Geno. The issue is that JSN doesn't stay on the red line. The red line is a training tool for teams, and it's simply a line that is 5 yards from the sideline. The coaching point for wide receivers is that they need to stay on that line in order to give the quarterback enough space to throw the fade. The worst thing that you can do as a receiver is to allow yourself to be pushed into the sideline, and that is exactly what happens here. If we switch to this angle, we can see that JSN isn't protecting that space. Instead, as the ball is arriving, he is basically out of bounds. This was a great throw from Geno, but JSN needs to stay vertical to protect the space and catch this ball over his left shoulder. He cannot allow the corner to push him out towards the sideline and close this window. Instead of staying vertical and using his body to shield off the defender, he ends up trying to turn and catch the ball over his right shoulder while already out of bounds. This is absolutely a catch that he can and should make, but this technique in the end is simply not going to cut it. The Hawks actually came back to this exact concept later in the game, and this one was more of a simple drop. You could argue that Geno should throw this ball more like he did with the last clip, leading JSN up the field and letting him run underneath it. But regardless, if you're JSN here, you have to make this back shoulder catch. Still, to me, these plays are kind of encouraging. JSN had a phenomenal game, and the fact that he could have had 50 more yards if he just made those catches, well, he could have an even bigger game next week. The hands still have to be a bit of a concern, as that was an issue last year as well, but I think that he's probably going to be able to figure that out, and we'll be seeing him make more of these plays. Just this preseason, we saw him make a great catch on a slot fade, so I think that these will be a big part of his game once he cleans a few things up. I'm not the kind of guy to completely change my mind on a player after one game. That seems like an overreaction. But this is different because JSN looked different. Blame Waldron if you want, but we did not see this type of dynamic slot weapon at all in his rookie season. But he also showed more than I thought he would in his downfield route running. I'm really not trying to oversell JSN, but this was a true number one type performance. He looks like the guy that you can funnel your entire offense through because he can do everything. Whatever you want to run, wherever you want to attack the defense, JSN can absolutely be your first read. This wide receiver room is already so much fun, and with JSN emerging, it's just going to get even better.